Today I'm going to talk about problems. We all have problems, and it can seem so overwhelming. We have so many problems going on in our lives, and I don't know about you, but I never really started to address my problems, and so they built up, and I just put up a wall saying, look, I don't want to deal with my problems. That's life. Why deal with problems? What's the purpose? Am I going to really learn anything from it? No, it's just more problems, more problems, more problems. And they built up so much that not only did I start using booze and drugs, I couldn't even use enough booze and drugs to mask my problems. So today I'm going to talk about a model, a perspective, a way to look at things that shows us what it is like to have these type of problems. Now, specifically, mine are going to be more with a drug slash alcohol, which, let's say this, alcohol is probably one of the original drugs. It definitely the first synthetic drug was distilled alcohol. Gotta love Terrence McKinnon for that one. I have to give him credit. So today we're going to talk about problems. But if I got a problem, I got to find a solution, right? So we're going to focus on this first part today, because without it, I'm just kind of whistling the dark. I talked in my last video about problems and identification. I am my problem. And it seems that what I'm going to call the overarching society, whether it's parents, friends, relatives, teachers, religious affiliations, religious groups, whatever, always seem to want to put three of the worst things: guilt, shame, and fear, as a result of problems. You are your problem. No, you are having your problem. There's your problem over here, you're over here, at least in some sort of mental way we can look at it like that. And so it helps us to pull away from that guilt, that shame, that fear. And maybe we can even just start being a little bit brave. Wow. If we can do that, that's progress. We come out of fear and we start becoming more accepting and willing to take a look at things. Rather than using a model that tries to instill guilt and shame and fear in order to make us change these, what I'm going to call these basic or really immature ways to help us, to try to get us to change, I'm going to try to start to elevate that and just look at it from a perspective of sort of a health in your existence, right? Your health and existence just isn't going really well right now, and what can we do to change that? And so one way that I found was effective and efficient was to think of things as a disorder or a disease. Disorder, not in order. If we break that down, that's all that means. Disease, not at ease. So look at this. Check this out, right? I wonder if that's going to be backwards when I put this on here. Oh, wow, it is. Oh, there we go. Look at that. I wonder if this will work too. Here's your problem and solutions. Good thing I wrote with a marker back to it, because we got a problem. We're going to talk about solutions later, but problem is what we're going to talk about now. And again, dis-ease, not at ease. I got to remember to do this all backwards. So I've got a problem, and we're going to just start with the most immediate. For me, I had a symptom of a problem. So if I have a cold, my symptoms are I might sneeze, I might cough, other things, right? That's the outward manifestation of this. The real root of it is something inside of me. And we're going to get to that. But first we got to start working our way backwards. Just what's obvious, right? Maybe shopping, maybe sex, maybe relationships, maybe business, maybe just our mind, I'm going to say this, and this is going to be very controversial. Great. I don't believe that the problems are mostly of our making. Most of us wouldn't have chosen this type of life. The whole idea is that you chose whatever your problem is, other than if you looked at my last video prior to your incarnation, you're sitting around with God. In this existence, events led to this happening. Again, it's good to pull outside of ourselves and think that this is not necessarily our making, right? Here's the thing, though. Society wants us to be responsible and take accountability, okay? Once I have a problem, especially one that's become public, then I can start to recognize I never really did take responsibility and accountability for my lives. I was, as Sam Harris said, running on a deterministic lifestyle. Not so much, it's not fate. You know, there's not some great being said, this is the story of your life, here you go, right? It can be written. We always have a choice. We may not truly have an infinite amount of choices, but I think probably one of the best solutions to this existence is realizing that I was letting these events be the cause and I was the effect, and starting to change my life to say, I'm going to be the cause of my own life. I only may have a few options, but at least I can exercise control of these options without guilt, without shame, without fear. And this is going to take practice. So what I'm going to talk about real quickly, without making this video too long, are cravings. Cravings don't happen unless it's in my body, okay? Medical science, they talk about post-acute withdrawal syndrome, and it's your brain creating a situation that is like an actual craving. And I believe that this is true. So when people say I'm having cravings and it's been days, months down the road since all of the drugs are out of their system or all the booze is out of their system, that's true. Okay, it's something like it. So here's my model. I gotta do this backwards, right? So let's say I take one drink, one hit, whatever. It seems like, here's a good model for me. That I take one drink, it creates 2 units of craving. These are craving units, okay? And so I take another drink, I have 2 more craving units. Now look at this though. 2 drinks, 3 craving units. It can never be satisfied. You would see where the pattern would continue. If I took another drink here, I'd have 2 more, and then I would have 4. Okay? So when it comes to booze or drugs, speed might be a little slightly different, but what happens is there's a sort of a numbing effect that happens. We lower our consciousness, and probably this happens with speed too. We lower our consciousness enough to just forget about all these extra cravings we've created until that numbingness goes away. Now, usually when it comes to booze, you might be asleep. However, or other drugs, with meth it's going to be different, and that might be why, one of the reasons why this is such an epidemic. Real quick, without getting too far down the pike, all of this is what it is like. I'm not saying this is exactly it. I'm not even backing it up with science at this point. I'm just providing a model to provide a basic understanding. Now, why do I start? Why do I always take that first one? Let me show you something real quick. Here we go. We're going to call this a mental obsession, right? So imagine this is my mental and emotional barometer, okay? What happens is this gets filled up over a lifetime. And for me, time did not heal all wounds, okay? It never had sort of a release valve. It was always building, 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 building till I got to this point where I'm going to do the first whatever to find some relief, right? Now, some people might do this, have a bad experience, get a little relief, and then stop, okay? For those of us that continue, though, we see this continuation process. And after we continue, there's this guilt and shame on top of the fact that we're probably still craving whatever it is, right? Now, something kind of unique happens in this. We get this guilt and shame, and the cycle continues for some of us. Whether it's shopping, whether it's sex, whether it's, the serial monogamous relationship. So I'm just going to show you what kind of happens as this process keeps running through the cycle again because our emotional barometer never gets cleared out. Okay? We get sort of a spiraling effect, and it continues and it continues and it continues until we get to this flushing point in our lives where that's a bottom. Okay? It's like flushing down a toilet. Okay? We've hit a bottom. Real quick, because this video is starting to run long, we don't need to keep hitting really low bottoms. Stop now. It's not a contest, okay? It's not who can take the most pain, all right? Start learning and stop hurting yourself. Do something nice for yourself. It's okay. You have my permission to do so. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.